Another year, another bracket to break down. College softball has undergone massive changes this year, conference realignment being the biggest source. Oklahoma and Texas now in the SEC, UCLA and Oregon in the Big Ten, Arizona and Arizona State being in the Big 12, Cal and Stanford being in the ACC geography. What hasn't changed is how softball games are won, on the field. Let's break down this bracket. The Oregon Ducks got the 16th seed, but this is an example of why I don't entirely think RPI makes sense. Oregon was ranked 7th in the final ESPN poll before the selections, and while they lost to Michigan, did they really deserve to be this far down? They got 2 wins over FSU, a win over Tennessee, beat UCLA twice, and swept 5 of their Big Ten series. And they still somehow got seeded this low. Keidre Luchard leads this team with a .458 average, and watch out for Riley McCoy's 17 homers. Stephanie Maake also has 14. As a team, they hit .351, which is 7th best in the nation. Of course, it takes pitching to win as well, but the Ducks are no slouch there either. Lindsey Green leads the Ducks with a 1.93 ERA and a record of 26-2, which is just ridiculous. Elise Skolkolski isn't far behind with a 2.07 ERA and a 15-3 record. Teams only hit .199 against the Ducks, and their team ERA of 2.27 is 10th best in the nation. Again, why are they the 16th seed? Oh right, 3 letters, RPI. In the rest of this regional, we see Stanford, who isn't seeded this year. If you're curious why, well, Nigeria Kennedy have 1.2 million reasons to leave. They're still a good team, but not the force they were last year, though they do have a win against Texas, but they had a rough ACC schedule. The Cardinal have a good offense, batting at .357, second in the nation, being led by River Mailer and Emily Jones, both hitting above .400. And Taryn Kern's bat is still as powerful, as she has 19 homers on the year. As you can imagine though, the loss of Kennedy has hurt their pitching, as their ERA is 3.75, which is 123rd in the nation. Binghamton's Alyssa Allen has hit 23 homers, so she's a threat for missed pitches. Weber State, on the other hand, good luck. Oregon should win their regional, but I wouldn't exactly look forward to a super regional in College Station if I were them. Alabama is the first SEC team I get to talk about here, and trust me, they are far from the last. The SEC had 14 teams qualify for the tournament, which is insane, and Missouri likely would have made it if they had a better record. Bama didn't have the best SEC run, but beat Oklahoma twice and have wins against Florida and A&M. Hitting-wise, they're led by Audrey Vandergrift's .407 and Callie Hevelin's .368. Hevelin has also hit 13 homers. Vandergrift's secret is her speed. She's the literal definition of track speed and can steal bases pretty much on anyone she wants. As a team, Bama hits .320, which isn't bad at 36th in the nation. Their pitching, on the other hand, has been shaky at best. The best series they had was against Oklahoma, but even still, their team ERA is 2.99. Caitlin Riley and Jocelyn Brisky have been doing a majority of the work at 2.59 and 2.78 respectively. But these pitchers need to watch out for Virginia Tech, who has the best hitter in the nation. You thought Arkansas's Bree Ellis was good? Well, allow me to introduce you to Corey McMillan, the senior outfielder with 30 home runs this year. Yes, I said 30 home runs, and she's still batting at a .452 average. Bree Pack and Michelle Shatfield are Virginia Tech's next 2 home run hitters, and they have 29 between the 2 of them combined. McMillan makes Virginia Tech a very dangerous team, and while admittedly their ERA of 2.83, they can score more than enough runs to make up for that. Watch out, Tide, you're on upset alert. Also, just a side note, don't play Enter Sandman either. Hokie Nation will literally cause an earthquake if you do. Jackson State has some decent bats at the top of their order, but their pitching is not the best. Belmont has a good pitcher in Maya Johnson, but past her, that bullpen is shaky. This regional is likely coming down to the Tide and the Hokies, and I'm taking the Hokies. Duke hosting a regional really surprised me. Granted, they still have some of their bright spots from last year and are still a really good softball team, but I guess I figured Virginia Tech would be getting this hosting spot due to what I mentioned earlier. Duke has wins over Florida and Nebraska, and had a good run in the ACC, but it wasn't their best year. Their highlight is probably taking the series over Clemson. Duke's average of .332 is led by Amina Vega hitting .433. Vega's also got 11 bombs, and Anna Gold has hit 13 herself. Duke's pitching this year, however, has been extremely shaky. After her great freshman season, Cassidy Curd's ERA is 3.51. It's been Danny Drugmuller leading this team with 2.7 ERA, but Duke's still giving up 3.56 runs per game. Do not be mistaken, this is not the same Duke team that went to OKC last year. Having Georgia come to Durham might help Duke a little bit, as the Dogs had a rough outing in the SEC. Georgia's numbers look worse than Duke's on paper, though it is against a much tougher schedule. The Dogs aren't hitting nearly as many homers as they used to, but they're still batting decently, but their pitching staff is shaky with a 3.68 ERA. And while they can spring upsets, they haven't been consistent all year long. Coastal Carolina has a decent pitcher in Nicolette Picone and has an offense that hits bombs. Delaney Keith has 19 and Georgia Hood has 18. Though while Coastal has a win over South Carolina, they've been shaky in their conference. Howard, on the other hand, nearly swept their conference, but their non-conference record was 11-17. When your best pitcher has an ERA of 4.1, it doesn't look good. This overall is just a relatively weak regional on paper. Duke should win it, and that matchup with Florida could be fun if Kirk can find her freshman form again. Arizona is in a new conference, and it may have been a good thing for them. They finished runner-up in both the regular season and the conference tournament, only behind Texas Tech both times. A run rule over Bama and a win over UCLA in non-conference prove how good they are, not to mention a 17-7 record in the Big 12, which is actually really good. Dakota Kennedy's .433 average and Paige Demler's .417 lead the Cats 347, which is 8th in the nation. We of course can't ignore the 17 home runs from both Sydney Stewart and Devin Netz. Speaking of Devin Netz, she's the Big 12 Player of the Year, meaning she beat out Kennedy for the award, and she's been a great pitcher as well. An ERA of 2.04 is great, but in the bullpen is Miranda Stoddard, who has an ERA of 1.86. A team ERA of 2.47 is pretty good as well, but Arizona got a tough draw with who ended up in their regional. Let's talk about Grand Canyon. They have a record of 46-6 and won the WAC. Savannah Kirk leads the team with a 5.11 average, which is 2nd in the nation. Overall, their average is 3.49, which is 6th in the nation. Jada Cooper and Emily Gonzalez have both hit double-digit home runs, and let's talk about their pitching staff. Megan Golden has a 0.93 ERA, Taryn Batterton 1.91, and Maggie Place 2.03. A team ERA of 1.74, which leads the nation. This Grand Canyon team is legit, and Arizona should be ready. Though it's worth pointing out the Cats did beat Grand Canyon when these two teams met earlier this year. Ole Miss has also had some good games this year, though they've been inconsistent. They beat Arkansas in a series and then lost the series to Kentucky. Okay. Lexi Brady has hit 15 homers, and the Rebels hit an average of 306. Ole Miss has had some great pitching days and some not good ones. Hello 20 runs against Arkansas. A team ERA of 2.99 isn't the best, but this team can make a run if they get hot. The problem is I don't think Arizona or Grand Canyon is a fan of that idea. Santa Clara hasn't been bad either, but considering who they've played, I'd expect this regional to come down to Arizona or Grand Canyon, and I'm personally taking Arizona. Texas Tech wasn't likely a team you were expecting to see here after last year, but then some things happened. First, Jerry Glasgow left Louisiana to coach at Tech. Secondly, some boosters pulled together $1.2 million to give to the top name in the transfer portal, Nigeri Kennedy. I wonder why this isn't brought up more when people complain about NIL. Probably because Nigeri agreed to play instead of trying to negotiate for more. Looking at you, Nico. The reigning USA Softball Player of the Year has been doing exactly what you would expect of her. Texas Tech ran through the Big 12 and won it by 3 games, but they've also got some interesting results, such as a loss to BYU. Their team .323 batting average is led by Reagan Jennings at .397, and even Nigeri Kennedy's been hitting well as she's tied for the team lead in home runs. Granted, it's at 8. Kennedy's ERA has been exactly what you would expect, 0.81, which leads the nation, but Tech's ERA is 1.87. Here's something to watch out for. When Nigeri isn't pitching, Tech's ERA is 2.93. Kennedy's good, but she's also human. Chloe Riazetto and Samantha Lincoln will need to step it up to bring Tech to OKC. Mississippi State is next, and while they didn't have the best SEC run, Sierra Sasco has a .461 average and has hit 11 homers, and Raylan Chafin has been a good arm for the Bulldogs with 20 wins. Miss State also beat Texas Tech when these two teams met in the regular season. Washington hasn't had their best season since they lost Malin to the transfer portal, but they've been decent, though only 2 of their bats are .300, and they have an okay ERA of 2.83. They're led by Sophia Ramuno with her 2.13 ERA, but this isn't Washington's best year. Brown has a good pitcher in Alexis Rivera, who has a 1.75 ERA and leads his team's 2.77. Their bats, on the other hand, though, are a bit shaky. A 268 batting average isn't good in this day and age. I think Mississippi State wins this regional because Kennedy can't pitch forever, but we'll see how far she can carry. Clemson softball has been on the rise, and after winning their first ACC tournament, they find themselves in the 11th seed. They've snatched wins against Tennessee and South Carolina, but they've also taken a couple of bizarre losses, namely Kentucky. This Clemson team is led by Maddie Moore and Alex Brown hitting .420. Shut up, Snoop. Maddie Moore has also hit 16 homers. Macy Cintron has also hit 13 homers and has also done some pitching. Her ERA is 2.07, but Clemson has been getting the majority of their innings from Reese Bassinger and Brooke McCubbin. Bassinger's ERA is 2.92 and McCubbin's throwing to 2.75. Clemson's team batting average is .329, top 30 in the nation, and their 80 home runs are proof that they can score. But remember how I brought up the loss to Kentucky? Well, the Wildcats are in this regional. They did not have a good SEC run, but still mainly got in due to being in the SEC. I'm not kidding, why else are they in here? Allie Blum leads the Cats in average at .331, and that's the team average for the SEC champions. Peyton Blotz has hit 15 homers though. Kentucky has been pitching by committee, but Sarah Handages, I can't pronounce that name, has the most innings and has a 2.63 ERA. But the team ERA is 3.93. It's not the best pitching staff, and I think there's a legit argument BYU should have gotten in over them. Northwestern doesn't appear to have the best bats either, given their team average of .290, and their arms also appear to struggle, given their 3.73 ERA. Lauren Boyd has been pitching decently though with a 2.57. USC Upstate also has some good bats, as their average is around .344, which is 12th in the nation, led by Sophia Kardatsky's .393. Sophia's also hit 15 home runs, so she's legit. Sierra Mans has also been a solid pitcher with an ERA of 1.97, and a team ERA of 2.56 isn't bad for USC Upstate. This should still be Clemson's regional to lose though. The LSU Tigers have come in with another good season, and this is probably the best team they've had in a while if I'm being honest. Granted, they only went 12-12 in SEC play, but they've picked up some solid wins in the SEC. At the plate, they're led by Tori Edwards, who has batted .403 and has hit 18 homers. Let's also talk about Macy Bergeron, who has been a great defensive catcher for LSU. Her job has been difficult due to the contrast in styles between LSU's two main pitchers, Sydney Berzon and Jaden Heavner. LSU's team ERA is 2.79, which is where Heavner falls. Berzon is slightly better at 2.56. As a team, LSU hits .335, which is 20th in the nation. As good as the Tigers have been though, they may have drawn the toughest at-large in the nation. Hello Nebraska Cornhuskers. The secret to Nebraska's success has been Papillion, Nebraska's own Jordy Ball. The two-time Women's College World Series champion with Oklahoma transferred to Nebraska last year and unfortunately had to take a medical redshirt. But she's been healthy this year and has been a nightmare. At the plate, she's hit .458 with 19 homers, which is tied for the team lead with Ava Cusack. In the circle, she's throwing an ERA of 1.57. The team ERA is 2.59, but that's also with Jordy pitching over half the innings for the Huskers. Nebraska can still make a serious run if they get hot. UConn has had an interesting season, such as a 22-18 game against Creighton. Grace Jenkins leads the Huskies with a .425 average and has hit 21 homers. In total, the Huskies have hit 76, but this pitching staff seems to give up more than a few walks. Their ERA is 4.21, but they were led in the circle by Peyton Kinney's 2.37 ERA. Southeast Louisiana even pushed LSU to the limit in February, and they've had some good games. Shanita Tucker leads the Lions in batting average at .396, and the team hits at a clip of .332, which is 24th in the nation. Pitching-wise, they have a solid team ERA at 2.15, led by Macy LaRue's 2.10 and Brittany Lewinsky's 2.18. They're a good team and could make a run, but I still think this regional is going to either LSU or Nebraska. My official pick is Nebraska for the record. It's a softball postseason, so of course we're going to talk about UCLA. Though this is the first time in a while that they aren't in a position to host a super regional, as they've fallen into the 9th seed. They went 49-10 but had some weird losses, including 2 to Northwestern. Maya Brady may have graduated, but UCLA still has some great bats in Savannah Pola and Jordan Woolery. Pola has an average of .439 and Woolery has hit 20 home runs. Megan Grant has also hit 23 of her own. though it's worth noting that on their own, Grant and Woolery have half of UCLA's homers. In terms of their pitching, UCLA is no slouch, having a 3-pitcher rotation that has worked out pretty well. Addison Fisher has an ERA of 2.43, Taylor Tinsley 2.52, and Caitlin Terry 2.66. Their team average is 2.45, which is nothing to sneeze at. People thought UCLA was dead at some point this season, but they have wins over both Tennessee and Arkansas. However, this is a sneaky tough regional that UCLA has. Arizona State had a good first year in the Big 12 and snuck out a win over Oregon early in the year. Now on paper, their bats are certainly not the best. While they bat at around 303, they're led by Tanya Windle, who bats at 368. Ashley Mejia has also hit 13 home runs, but the most dangerous fork the Sun Devils have is not at the plate. Pun not intended. It's in the circle. Kinsey Brown has been a nightmare for batters to deal with. An ERA of 1.29, sixth of the nation, is scary to deal with. But here's one point of concern. Arizona State as a team has an ERA of 3.40. When Brown's not in the circle, their ERA is a sky-high 5.04. So yeah, if you can get past Brown, that's a very vulnerable ASU team. But getting past Brown is a question of if. San Diego State has made a name for themselves early by pushing OU to the limit and then going 4-0 in Clearwater. They also snatched a win against Arizona late in the season. This team bats at 300 and are led by Julie Holcomb, Callie Decker, and Bella Espinoza, who are hitting at 370, 360, and 350 respectively. Though the bottom of this order is suspect. Also, watch out for CC Solora and her 2.10 ERA. UCSB, good luck. I still think UCLA wins this regional. The Gamecocks were not expected to even compete in the SEC, but then they started 20-0, including beating Duke 3 times in a row. Then they entered the SEC and went 12-11 there, but they had a very tough schedule. Oklahoma, LSU, Arkansas, Alabama. To be fair, the SEC as a whole is a nightmare to play in. There's only one non-SEC team left who is hosting a regional. South Carolina's bats are still hitting 311, led by Oklahoma transfer Quincy Lilio, who's hitting 373. Ariana Rodi has also hit 16 homers, so South Carolina is a threat to anyone. Admittedly, their pitching staff is a bit suspect. Jory Hurd's 2.71 isn't terrible, but every other pitcher has an ERA of over 3. In fact, their ERA is 3.16, which is suspect to say the least. Virginia, on the other hand, doesn't have as good a bats, even as their average is 309. But Jade Hilton's 365 and 17 homers makes her a dangerous player. Their pitching, on the other hand, is better than South Carolina's on paper. Edding Bigham's 2.38 ERA leads the team's 2.76. North Florida is a potential dark horse in this regional. Their bats have been pretty good all year. Allison Benning leads the Ospreys with an average of 409, and her 19 homers has certainly elevated this offense. But the most dangerous part of this team is their pitching staff. Allison Benning leads the staff in innings pitched and has a 1.51 ERA, which is 9th in the nation. Her teammate Kyla Berry has an ERA of 1.02, which is 4th in the nation. North Florida's ERA of 2.35 is also the 11th best in the nation. They are a pitching staff to be feared. Elon's bats are suspect at times, but Caitlin Wells has a 4.17 average and 16 homers. McKenna McCard has an ERA of 1.98, but their team ERA is 3.65. I'm picking South Carolina to win this regional, but I could see North Florida pulling the shocker. The Tennessee Lady Volunteers. Yes, I'll talk about number 23 in a minute, but let's talk about the other half of what makes this team the 7th seed, their bats. Taylor Pinnell leads this team with a 4.13 average and has also hit 15 homers. Sophia Nugent has also hit 14 homers. The Lady Vols' average of 302 may not seem like a team that deserves the 7th seed, but if you know this team, you know why this team is so feared. Their pitching staff. We'll get to the star of the show in a second, but first allow me to highlight South Carolina transfer Sage Marjetko. She's pitched the second most innings for the Vols and has a commendable ERA of 2.61. Fine, I've stalled long enough. If you notice that the radar gun on some of these pitches in this highlight reel is rating 75 plus, it's not an error. It's how fast Carlin Pickens throws. She set the record for the fastest pitch recorded at 78.2 miles an hour. Pickens is third in the nation with a 0.92 ERA, and the Lady Vols' 1.80 ERA is second in the nation. Of course, it's mostly thanks to Pickens. However, Carlin and the Vols pitching staff will need to be at their best in this regional because Ohio State is coming to town. 7 of their bats have hit double-digit home runs, and they lead the nation in home runs at 137. They're on pace to break the single-season record if they can make it out of regionals. Ohio State's bats are led by Jasmine Burns, 467 average and 23 home runs. As a team, they bat .341, which is 16th in the nation. But hold on a minute, with an offense that good, how is this team unseeded? Well, the team ERA of 4.13 probably explains that. UNC essentially tells the same story, just with fewer home runs, though Kat Rodriguez should be recognized for her average of 453. However, while UNC has a team average of 347, which is 9th in the nation, their ERA is not something to be proud of. When your ace has an ERA north of 4, there's a problem. Miami, Ohio lost Carly Spade to graduation, and as expected, their home runs have taken a dive, though Jenna Golombowski has still hit 19. Once again though, their pitching is an issue. Though the 3.86 ERA is better than it was last year, I still think this is Pickens and the Lady Vols Regional to lose though. Texas was the number 1 seed last year, and they're still a great team, but the season still probably underperformed the expectations of their fans. They were projected to be the number 1 seed again, and were well on their way to doing that until they stumbled against Pickens and the Lady Vols, then got swept in Norman while Love's Field booed Mike White. Still, this Texas team is a force to be reckoned with regardless of how you personally feel about them. Their .354 average is 4th best in the nation, which is impressive in the SEC. When Reese Atwood is only the 4th best batter in terms of average, you're doing quite well. Mia Scott leads this team in batting average at .438, and Reese Atwood is also hitting .400, but she, Jolie Mitchell, and Katie Stewart have all hit double-digit home runs. The SEC tournament semifinals do not represent how good Texas is. A team ERA of .270 is actually worse than this pitching staff is. Tegan Cavan and Silali Gutierrez are both averaging just north of 2.45 ERA, but these two pitchers are better than that ERA shows. Mac Morgan and Cambria Salmon have also been decent in the circle. Also heading to Austin are the Michigan Wolverines, the Big Ten champions. They had to upset both UCLA and Oregon to pull that off. Indiana Langford leads the Wolverines with a .409 batting average, and Jessica Conway has hit 17 home runs. This is a very capable team at the plate, especially considering their average at .309. Lauren Durkowski leads this team in ERA at 2.56, and the team as a whole has an ERA of 2.92. Michigan certainly isn't a slouch. UCF has also pulled off a couple of upsets, including Florida and Arizona. At the plate, the Golden Knights are not the best with only a .284 batting average, but they have a scary freshman pitcher in the circle by the name of Isabella Vega. Her 1.35 ERA is 7th best in the nation and could provide a challenge for both the bats of Texas and Michigan. Eastern Illinois has 2 decent pitchers in Mackenzie Olzlanzi and Carly McKenzie. I don't think this team is going to have much success against Texas. Yes, I'm picking the Horns to win this regional. Yes, I'm still an OU fan. I can be objective. Unlike Mike White, who has implied that Patty Gasso cheats and wants to move the Women's College World Series away from OKC. Just saying, there's a reason he gets booed in Norman. Tired of the SEC teams yet? Here's the one break you get for the rest of the video from SEC teams hosting regionals. The Florida State Seminoles won the ACC regular season title and finished as runner-ups in the conference tournament. A 46-9 record is quite impressive, though the ACC wasn't nearly as deep as it was last year, mainly with Duke underperforming. Though the Noles have dropped a game to Oklahoma State and 2 to Oregon, they did run through the ACC for the most part. Florida State is 3rd in the nation in batting average at .355, led by Isa Torres at .447, as well as Kennedy Harp's .412. Katie Dack leads the Noles with 14 home runs. Florida State's pitching has improved from last year, and they're mainly pitching by committee. Ashton Danley has the most innings pitched, and her ERA of 1.76 is 21st in the nation. Jazzy Franczyk is 14th in the nation with a 1.62. Overall, the Noles have a 2.23 ERA, which is 9th in the nation, so they're pitching really well, and that could prove to be a major problem for the Auburn Tigers, who, while Annalie Adams has been hitting .403, the team as a whole is hitting .266. Auburn's ERA isn't much better, though S.J. Guerin has been pitching decent at a 2.79 ERA. Still, as a team, they pitched 3.96. They literally only got in because they play in the SEC, if you want the truth. The American champion South Florida Bulls have been playing quite well. They batted a .326 average, which is pretty good. Belle Sarge's 1.79 ERA and Peyton Dixon's 2.67 ERA are quite good as well. And the team ERA is 2.82. Not bad, but not the best either. Robert Morris has been playing decently as well, and Courtney Polich's 15 homers have been a nice boost for this offense. They batted a .308 average, but their pitching isn't the best. Madison DeVault has been doing well, though, at a 2.41 ERA. Still, the team ERA is 3.78, and that's not the best. Florida State should get through this regional no problem, but that matchup in the Supers between FSU and Texas Tech could be really fun. Arkansas has had some great teams in recent memory, but this one may be Courtney Deifel's best. They went 14-10 in the SEC. 5 of those losses came in their first 2 series, but they got hot late, taking the series over A&M, Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina. Sure, their team ERA is 3, and that's rather high for a 4 seed, but Robin Herron is still a pretty good pitcher with her ERA of 2.5. Regardless, Herron has backup in the form of Peyton Burnham, whose ERA is 2.8. This team also bats at an average of 323, and let's talk about the star of their show, Bree Ellis. The SEC Player of the Year has an average of 475 and has hit 26 homers. It's bad enough to the point that Ellis only swung her bat once against Georgia, and it was a walk-off grand slam. Ellis is a home run threat every time she comes to the plate, but Courtney Day can also hit homers as she has 16. The power in some of Arkansas's bats is going to be a major problem for Oklahoma State. With their batting average of 297, they've been shaky all year long, but Tia Warsaw has been good with a 358. Amanda Hassler has also hit 15 homers. The star of Oklahoma State's team is Ruby Malin. The Washington transfer has a 1.61 ERA, which is really good. The problem is, Oklahoma State's other pitchers have a combined ERA north of 4, so if you get past Malin, you're going to have a much easier time against them. Indiana has the best batting average in the nation at 368 and is led by Taylor Minnick's 470. In fact, the Hoosiers have 4 bats in the 400 range. Minnick has also hit 16 home runs, and Brianna Copeland has hit 13 of her own. But with an offense that good, how do they have a losing record in the Big Ten? Does the Hoosiers ERA of 4.34 answer that question? St. Louis, congrats on making it to the big dance. That's all I'm going to say for now. Feel free to prove me wrong though. I think Arkansas is winning this regional, but I am curious about the OSU-Indiana matchups. Florida has been up and down, but they have been a great team throughout the year despite dropping some series they probably shouldn't have. Welcome to college softball though. 14-10 in the SEC isn't bad, but they probably should not have been dropping games to Ole Miss and Alabama. Kendry Falby leads the Gators with a 438 average, and Mia Williams has hit 19 home runs. Taylor Schumacher is not far behind with 18. The team average of 338 is 17th best in the nation, and these Gators can run. They've stolen 94 bases this year alone, and on defense they're another problem as they have arguably the best outfield in the nation with Falby, Otis, and Schumacher. The outfield has certainly been a huge help for Florida's pitching staff, and while they haven't been pitching their best, they're still more than capable. Keegan Rothrock's ERA at 3.34 is not what she was pitching last year, but Ava Brown and Caitlin Oxley each have sub-3 ERAs, but it's still not the best year of pitching Florida has had. Florida has mainly been kept in these games by their home runs, of which they've hit 97. They may need to hit as many home runs as they can if they end up playing the FAU Owls. Led by Bella Foran's 420 average, the Owls are 19th in the nation with a batting average of 336. They've hit significantly fewer home runs than UF though, but Autumn Courtney's 1.80 ERA and Ainsley Lambert has an ERA of 1.62. In total, the Owls have an ERA of 2.37, which is 12th best in the nation. The pitching here could pose a challenge to Florida if they are off their game. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, isn't the best team out there. A 2.87 batting average and a 4.24 ERA are not the best stats. Though of course, you never know. Mercer is more or less the same story though. Shout out to Tori Hedgecock's 355 average and 16 home runs. A team ERA of 345, however, is not the best. This is basically a showdown between Florida and FAU. I'm taking the Gators here. The Oklahoma Sooners 2024 senior class will be legendary. 5 of those seniors have won 4 reigns, but with Oklahoma losing all of their production in both the circle and at the plate, it's safe to say Oklahoma's run at the top is finally ending. Or so we all thought. Turns out Patty Gasso just hit the Undertaker gaunt sound effect, teleported behind the SEC, and continued doing her thing. Oklahoma won the SEC regular season title and split the tournament title with Texas A&M. This Oklahoma team still hasn't quite been the dominant force we're used to seeing though. In terms of batting, they're led by Ella Parker, who's batting a 417. The Sooners bat 330 as a team, which is 25th in the nation. In the circle, it's been Sam Landry's show, as she's got an ERA of 2.04, which leads the Sooners 2.83. Admittedly, these numbers aren't quite as dominant as the Sooners used to be, but they're still a threat to win the title with this squad. Freshman Gabby Garcia leads the Sooners with 16 homers and somehow didn't make top 25 Freshman of the Year list. Her response to that injustice was to hit a walk-off homer against Arkansas. The Sooners are still hitting home runs though, as they're 4th in the nation with 102 of them. Cal certainly has a mountain to climb, but they have a .316 batting average led by Mika Lee's .388. Tiana Bell has also smacked 15 home runs, but with Oklahoma's bats, their 4.14 ERA is going to struggle. Not to mention Cal's best pitcher, Miranda Donava, has an ERA of .329. Omaha has a talented pitcher, Matty Agroff, whose 1.62 ERA is 13th in the nation, and their team ERA of 2.71 isn't bad either, but given their competition, it's going to be a struggle for them. Batting-wise, Sidney Thomason leads the Mavericks with a .368 average and 13 homers, but with a team average of .288, it's going to take a great effort to get out of this regional. Boston won the Patriot League again, and Casey Ricard's .197 ERA is really good, but she's pitched over 200 innings, and you have to wonder how much longer her arm will hold up. A team ERA of 2.53 isn't bad though. Brooke DePeste's .419 average leads Boston's .305. I still think this is going to be the Sooners regionals to lose, and the quest for a 5-peat goes on. For the first time ever, the number 1 seed is the Texas A&M Aggies, and they have earned it. They've been the most consistent team all year long, and they've had a great mix of bats and pitching. A team batting average of .338, which is good enough for 18th of the nation, is led by Mia Perez's .448, and she's also hit 14 home runs. Amari Harper has also hit .407 this year. In the circle, the Aggies are led by Emily Kennedy's .2.68 ERA, but as a team, the Aggies have pitched a .2.72. While these numbers may not seem too impressive, A&M has been on fire later in the season, including run-ruling both South Carolina and Texas in the SEC tournament. Due to a rainout in Athens, they ended up splitting the conference tournament title with OU. I'm not lying when I say A&M has been hot lately, but they may have gotten a very tough regional draw. Liberty is back in the tournament, and Rachel Rope has been a nightmare. Her 4.82 average and 20 homers won her Conference Player of the Year. KK Madry has also hit .406. As a team, the Flames are hitting .332, which is 21st in the nation. In terms of pitching, the Flames throw a 2.2 ERA, which is 8th in the nation. They're led by Elena Escobar, who has thrown a 1.83. The Marist Red Foxes may be the dark horse of this regional, though. Haley R. has hit an average of .521, and both Mia McDonald and Maddie Pleasance have hit over 20 home runs. In fact, Marist 103 home runs are tied for 2nd in the nation, and their average of .345 is 10th. Kylie Myers leads the Red Foxes with a 1.5 ERA, and as a whole, the Red Foxes have a 1.99 ERA, which is 4th in the nation. Myers is 8th in the nation with her ERA. Long story short, the Red Foxes are a potential dark horse in this tournament. St. Francis, I wish you the best of luck, but I don't think you'll have much in this tournament. No offense.